Educational context. Students at the middle school level are coming into their own as learners. Self-discovery is a big part of this stage of education. Differentiated instruction will allow students in the 7th and 8th grade to explore that. The creation of learner profiles is a highly beneficial tactic for this age group. Students are able to take an active role in the learning process, which not only causes them to feel important, but it also creates a bond between teacher and student. The goal of middle school is to prepare students for the next level of education and even afterwards. By differentiating the instruction within the classroom, in this case physical education and health, students are able to retain information and improve more steadily by utilizing their own strengths and interests. Plan and rationale. Learner profiles are a crucial step one, as students are providing a type of learning inventory that provides the instructor with necessary information to get the most out of each of the students. When teachers attempt to view learning from the learner's perspective, it helps the teacher to build a relationship with the student. Essentially, the data collected is utilized to provide a blueprint for how to plan, create, and change lessons as necessary to the format of each class and more specifically for each individual student. With the completion of this opening phase to the learning process, differentiation can take place as necessary, allowing for a more genuine educational experience across the board. Plan and rationale continued. The jigsaw method is another aspect to be considered with regard to planning. Within this specific drug education project being presented to the students, there is opportunity for the use of this technique to create a more enjoyable, differentiated unit. The atmosphere ultimately promotes communication and collaboration within small groups, while also allowing students to take on their part of the project or assignment in a way they see fit. In this cooperative strategy, students work with peers who study one facet of a topic. They then return to a home-based group for sharing what they have learned. Jigsaw allows students to share the responsibility for each other's learning. Each student involved is essentially an expert in one area of a collaborative group, and there is choice in the matter of what they wish to focus on. The learner profiles show target areas for specific students and where their interests lie. Thus, groups can be generated that involve 3 different types of learners that work together on different pieces of the project, leading each individual to become an expert in their field. While students get to choose the method in which they are to comply with the requirements of the drug project in particular, the foundation is laid out in a way that they are able to pick the option that best fits with their preferred method of learning. Pre-learning activity. Mind maps. Students will be asked to complete mind maps on the 7 drug topics that the class will be focusing on. This will be an exercise that students will come back to at the conclusion of the unit. Background knowledge. Through a series of activities that will guide students through a worksheet, they will be given knowledge on different types of drugs and what addiction entails. Interactive activity. 5 students will be selected on a volunteer basis to identify the 5 stages of addiction, with each student being handed a poster with a word or short phrase. They must then align themselves in the order in which they believe the stages take place, and it is up to the remaining students to verbalize whether they agree or disagree with the order the group has put the steps into. Reading. Students are given a handout describing the different types of drugs and are given one of 2 options: to read quietly while writing down questions to be asked aloud, or to get with a partner or small group and do a variation of oral popcorn reading within that group while also generating questions to ask. Pre-learning activity continued. A video. During the video, students are asked to identify the 5 stages of addiction as they appear within the cartoon by either writing the occurrence down in the space provided on their paper or by raising their hand, resulting in a pause in the video so the class can talk about that stage. The varied methods of instruction utilized in this opening lesson are aimed to reach the multiple intelligences within the classroom, as described by Dr. Howard Gardner. Gardner's concept purported that knowledge could be displayed in multiple ways. Different ways of knowing: verbal, logical, visual, musical, bodily, naturalistic, intrapersonal, and intrapersonal. Multiple intelligences provides a viable way to differentiate instruction so that the teacher can reach more students more of the time. Interactive activity. Students are grouped together based on their different preferred methods of instruction and given a specific drug as the topic of research. Upon being provided with a set of project requirements, students are given the freedom to choose which section of the requirements they would like to take on, noting that the work must be divided up equally. Each student is able to show new knowledge in accordance with the requirements by creating a document on Google Slides, creating a video with their share of the information, or creating a poster or brochure. Interactive activity continued. The jigsaw strategy is included here in several different ways. The method can be broken down into the following steps. Divide students into small groups, divide the lesson into segments, assign a segment to each student, give students time to become familiar with the segment, form temporary expert groups, bring students back to their jigsaw groups, ask each student to present their area of expertise to the group, observe the process, and then assess students on the material. In this cooperative strategy, students branch out to work with peers who study one facet of a topic. They then return to the home base group for sharing what they have learned. Ultimately, after several classes of research, individual and cooperative work, and allowing students to own what they have learned through the jigsaw method, the original groups will have concrete information regarding their topic to share with the class. Post-learning activity. Students will present the information that they have researched with their original groups to the class using their preferred method of learning. While each group is presenting about their topic, students observing the presentations will return to their mind maps and document new information that their classmates have taught them about each of the drug topics. The students will then show understanding of each of the different drug types by using their mind maps to complete a worksheet that highlights the main ideas of each topic. Students will be responsible for attaching their mind maps to the final worksheet to hand in. The goal is for students to have a grasp on the dangers that go along with the use of different types of drugs while being able to categorize each of them based on their effects and definitions. The mind map brainstorming session allows for students to break down the information in their own way without a rigid format to follow that may not necessarily coordinate with their preferred method of learning. Content. Upon being placed in a small group, students are given a list of illegal drugs, one of which they will be researching. From that list, they will choose which one they would like to research. Students are able to use Chromebooks to find information about their topic. They are given the option to use websites to find information, videos they find online, and there is also a stand-up model in the back of the classroom with brief information on each of the drug topics. When different modes of learning are offered and supported, more students successfully complete learning tasks. Process. Process means sense-making, or just as it sounds, opportunity for learners to process the content or ideas and skills to which they have been introduced. Per evaluation, students may be offered a collection of sources, websites mostly, to jumpstart the research process, while other students will not be offered this material as it is not a necessity in their own individual learning journey. For students requiring enrichment, providing them with links and other sources to use would take away the challenge of discovering new resources for themselves. As students break out into their secondary groups within the jigsaw learning method, students may naturally take on leadership roles and share their discoveries with those who are not as advanced in the realm of technology-based research. Product. Students will now have ample opportunity for a diverse production of information. A product can be, for example, a portfolio of student work, an exhibition of solutions to real-world problems that draw on knowledge, understanding, and skill achieved over the course of a semester, an end-of-the-unit project, or a complex and challenging paper and pencil test. Several options are offered in order to present their final product to the class, including but not limited to a video presentation, the creation of a poster or pamphlet informing their classmates of the dangers of the drug they chose to research, or the traditional Google Slides presentation. The goal is to allow students to play to both their strengths and interests to assure a quality product and a genuine gain of information. Strategies. Learner profiles. Creating learner profiles allows for instructors to get to know students by their interests while also getting a pre-assessment on material within the units of study, ensuring respectful assignments for all students, and creating a student-centered classroom, among others. Learner profiles set the foundation for differentiation, and it is an effective way to gain input for the learners themselves. By getting into the minds of the students and seeing where their interests lie, the content, process, and product can be created and options can be formed. The end result is ultimately, or ideally, better final products and more information gained by each individual learner. Stop and jot. The stop and jot method of instruction is one of the elements to the pre-learning activity within the drug education unit. Not only will students be consciously thinking about what they just learned, but the activity can also promote discussion, as the third step in this process is share. While some students are comfortable speaking aloud and sharing information, others are more apt to express themselves on paper. Both areas of preference are elements of this learning strategy, thus providing a balance of options that relates both sides of the equation. Future goals. One goal to strive for would be to continue to research new, fresh ways to differentiate instruction as technology evolves, new information comes out, and new students enter the building. The truth is, 10 years from now, the methods used to differentiate today may take a backseat to better, more improved ideas that have been researched and carried out over the years. Remaining stagnant gets people left behind, and in most cases, this means the students. Essentially, a checklist can be made from year to year or even semi-annually in order to provide a layout for self-evaluation. Another goal to assure that differentiated instruction is not being neglected is to remain proactive. So many teachers fall into a comfort zone for things that work for them. The main purpose of becoming an educator is to reach the students and to teach them new information in a variety of ways so that they will retain it while keeping them passionate about the subject matter. This cannot be accomplished without passion for the material by the instructor. Children and adults alike can tell when someone is simply going through the motions, and it reflects in their own behavior and approach. A look back through lesson plans can be a simple tool to use to assess if this goal has been met or if 1 year to the next the pattern of growth has remained constant. This provides concrete evidence during self-reflection. Reflective questions to consider. Are lessons exactly the same as they were 2 years ago? Are all lessons incorporating some type of differentiation, or are the improvements being made? Effective communication can be an essential tool for improving on the repertoire of ways to differentiate. Meeting with or even collaborating with other teachers can result in the sharing of ideas and lead to new and improved lesson creations. There is essentially a whole building, district, and beyond of untapped resources in the form of educators themselves. The goal to become a more effective communicator can lead to opening doors that have been filled with information just waiting to be discovered. By setting a goal to meet with other instructors at least once per marking period, it will allow for a plan of self-evaluation that will lead to self-accountability and is easily measurable. Summary. Collaboration and communication are key elements to gaining new knowledge and ultimately avoiding being a stagnant, boring educator with little to bring to the table as years progress. As the old saying goes, sharing is caring, and this is no different with regard to differentiated instruction within the classroom. Ideas are out there waiting to be discovered, and this discovery can only be achieved through sharing those ideas. The goal is to improve differentiated instruction from year to year as times, people, and technology change. Going forward, it is essential to take on a leadership role with regard to effective networking, and this can be done in a number of ways, whether that be scheduled meetings with colleagues or stepping it up one notch and carrying out a PLT to promote differentiated instruction and provide strategies and resources in the process. Ultimately, the opportunities are endless, and for that, the students will benefit if these opportunities are seized.